Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, coming at you, not live because this is pre-recorded, with what I can only assume is a fairly hotly anticipated review. It is, of course, my thoughts on the song for Moldova at Eurovision 2021. Now, if you've been following the news, then you'll know that they're aiming for something of a quote-unquote Maruf-style banger. If you're not familiar, that was the artist responsible for the song that was going to represent Ukraine in 2019 prior to the drama and subsequent withdrawal. It comes to us courtesy of Natalia Gordienko under the title Sugar. Now, you might recognise Natalia, well, for one, for being Moldova's chosen representative last year. She was picked in a national final. This year she was chosen internally, but also as a featured artist on Moldova's second ever entry from all the way back in 2006. Now she's back, and she would like you to believe stronger than ever, with a song composed by the so-called dream team that is Dimitris Kontopoulos and Philip Kirkorov, with lyrics by Sharon Vaughan. She's really been getting around lately, and, well, I don't have any opinions on that. Do you? That's good if so, it's good if not so. Think for yourself is basically the bottom line here. How do I feel about this one? Well, if I might be honest with you lovely people for a moment here, y'all let me down. I didn't know much about this song going into it, but I knew to expect some classic Moldovan craziness that had people freaking out. And I knew to expect a song that, as I said, had been compared to the withdrawn Ukrainian entry from a couple of years ago. But having heard the song in person, I have to say, y'all need to majorly chill out. To unpack what I mean by that, is the song a bop? Sure. Is it entertaining? Sure, I dare say I like it much more than last year, not that that's a fair comparison to make. And if you factor in her 2006 appearance as well, then this is my personal favourite Natalia Gordienko Eurovision entry of all time. But is it mind-blowingly bizarre? Is it weird? Is it peculiar? Not really. The music video is a little bit of a trip, and it has some honestly terrible-looking CGI ice cream in it, but that's about it. To be clear, I don't dislike what's happening with this one, I just think that people majorly overreacted in their initial assessments of the song. It's a banger, but it's not a mind-blowing, crazy, oh my god, it's so impossible to understand. Like, it's fun, it's not mad. Still, I suppose that technically counts as a point in this song's favour. The song leaves a powerful impression, and it brings strong overall branding and identity and stuff, in not so many words, by way of both its sound and its visuals. It has got people talking. And the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about, so congrats Moldova, you have once again found your way into people's heads and hearts. And you know what? Why not? Despite my trepidations, this is actually a very good example of the subgenre of song that I've called out before as being a switch your brain off bop. That isn't an insult. It might sound like one, but it's not intended to be one. It means that this is the sort of song where you don't have to think too hard or unpack it or anything to have a good time with it. It's just, it turns up, and it's a banger. That's it. That's what they wanted to write, and I dare say that's what they succeeded in writing. What works in its favour, too, is how it's presented in the music video. I'm not talking about the aesthetic of it all, but rather Natalia herself and her backing dancers, except for the really uncanny-looking CG ice cream that I mentioned before. Those just do not work for me. But yes, Natalia and co bring sass, confidence, and the seeds of what could be some very promising synchronized choreography for the stage in Rotterdam. This is the sort of song where dancing in perfect lockstep with others, with confidence, really boosts its appeal. Given that it already places the singer in a position of social power within its narrative, having people follow you like that, yeah, I think it adds to the effect, but that's just me. Finally, further praise in that department, and especially for Natalia as the face of the whole package. In spite of everything, the fourth wall between the song and us, the audience, between the world of the music and reality, us sitting in the stands listening, that fourth wall is very much intact throughout. It would be so easy for her or for anyone to break character, laugh awkwardly, be like, oh, this is so crazy, are we having a time? But no. She doesn't do that. She doesn't resent performing the song. She respects the world of the song that has been created. She owns it. She's 100% on board with everything going on in the, not just the song, but the whole package. and that's part of what makes it so strong. Calling out the surrealism of the video or the thirst of the presentation would just undermine the whole thing after all. Still, I do think it bears repeating that not everyone on the planet is going to love this song. Calm down, sugar stans, no song is safe from this treatment. So let's look at some potential reasons why that might end up being. For one, this is another song this year that doesn't finish per se, it just snaps to a complete stop when it's done with very, very little fanfare, I find. To a point, I feel like the climax of the song comes too late, so the Eurovision time limit of 3 minutes sort of sneaks up during the final dance break and just insists that the song has to just cut out before it's ready to, and I find that rather jarring, to be honest. That's just when I'm starting to get my groove on. Also, as a trapping of this genre, say what you will, but lyrically this is a total non-event. Don't get me wrong, with music like this, you don't have to be the second coming of Shakespeare. It's not about the lyrics, so there's nothing inherently wrong with them being unremarkable or generic. It's better than having something actively stupid and risible, as we've heard earlier this year, naming no names, but I could totally understand if that turned people off nonetheless. I, for one, find the lyrics to be rather non-memorable. For instance, I couldn't tell you any of them right here and now, but again, that's sort of the point. This song is all about music and dancing. The lyrics are almost just there out of necessity, in a way. Finally, again, you could write this off as an aspect of the song's inherent nature, but I, for one, feel its undertones of lust and sexual appeal to be quite a bit of a turn-off, ironically. Some people are into it, and that's great. Some people might even feel empowered, or other things, by it, and more power to them for it, but at the end of the day, this is something that you might not like, and I, for one, am part of the group that might not like it. At my most prudish, I would say that the same applies to both the music and the edible goodies in the music video. They're far more appealing without getting all manner of nasty juices all over them. So, to distill the whole experience into numbers, well, as ever, we'll start with my personal rating. I'm throwing caution to the wind here and giving this song a personal score of 10. Sure, it's 3 minutes of bass chewing gum for the eyes and ears, but that never hurt anyone. It's fun, it's an enjoyable musical jam. Sometimes that's all the song has to be in order to score well. Honestly, listening to the song subsequent times after my first go-around, once I knew what to expect beat for beat, I surprised myself with how much it grew on me from an already quite favourable start. I did go into it with some cynicism, bearing in mind, well, a lot of factors, but for better or for worse, no, I actually rather like this one. It'll probably find a rather comfortable home on my personal playlist in the very near future. On the technical side, I feel like this deserves an 8, but honestly I would struggle to justify that, so I'm afraid I'll have to round it up to a 9. In the grand scheme of things, this song certainly isn't textbook perfection in the songwriting world, but that was never the question to begin with. Quite simply, this is what I would describe as trash pop, but that doesn't mean that it inherently lacks quality. There is such a thing as good trash pop. I just use it as a name, a nomenclature of identifying what the song's intention is. Is it trashy? I would say so. Do I still like it? Absolutely. Does it still have mass appeal? Even more so. So while it's absolutely not about to win a prize for the best lyrics in the known universe, or innovation in music, or anything along those lines, it does still more than deserve fair credit for delivering a confident, competent, sassy bop that delivers memorable visuals and has a strong shot at bringing some very tight choreography and the like. It won't go down in history as one of the classics, but it doesn't need to get its job done. People are going to remember it and people are going to jam to it. What more do you need? Anyway, thinking in terms of how the Moldovan broadcaster approached this year's contest, am I blue in the face yet? Yes, they did the right thing here. To recap, Natalia won a national final last year, and the broadcaster opted this year to scrap the national final for this year in favour of nominating her internally to ensure that she is able to receive the prize that she earned last year but couldn't redeem, that is, performing for her country at Eurovision. Judging by the press coverage, the albeit overlong reveal show, as far as I was told, and the general amount of hype that they pushed in the build-up to the release of this song, I think Teleradio Moldova deserves praise for not just going through the motions of selecting Natalia internally, but actually demonstrably backing her and supporting their selection of her. It shows that they truly mean it. They really are behind her. They're not just doing the right thing just for the sake of brownie points and recognition. And that's definitely a good thing. They're doing it for the right reasons. As for Natalia's odds of making the final this year, I would weigh very much in her favour, which makes a refreshing change from last year, and Moldova's on-again, off-again record in general. The voting public are likely to gravitate towards this song, what with its engaging energy, general bopability, and what is sure to be a spectacular stage show. Bearing in mind this is Moldova we're talking about, they don't do boring stage shows. And the juries, well, they might be a bit more lukewarm towards the actual content of the song, but I suspect that her live presence, vocal capacity, and overall staging ought to win them over well enough to at least get them into the top 10 even before the scores are combined. I want to reiterate though, it's by no means guaranteed. I just think that a place in the final for this song is highly likely. And you know what? I would love to see it, but that is just me. As ever, I will now throw it over to you, lovely people. Listen to the song for yourself. Tell me in the comments if you feel so inclined. Don't feel bullied into sharing your opinions. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you feel something else entirely? Your opinions are valid either way. But as far as I'm concerned, to Natalia, to Team Moldova, I wish you the very best of luck, and we'll see, because some people have doubts because this song is going toe-to-toe with a couple of other songs that are bops in just the same way, but I think there's room for a couple of bops in this year's final, but we'll just have to see what happens in May.